Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel for the 5th war of Season 32. The team today is going to be Elsa Bloodstone, Nebula, and Sp2099, some of my favorite characters, and they all got to make the team today. The bans have been more or less the same pool of 5 characters. It's almost always Quake. We usually see Corvus, maybe Hercules, maybe Ghost, and today we also saw Torch. Which I guess makes sense. Torch bans are a little bit less prevalent this season, but you know, it still is a great strategy to eliminate the best Mystic killer out there for sure. And I'm going to be sharing Path 1 to start this war against this Dragon Man on Masochism node. And as you're probably aware, Dragon Man is a robot, which means Nebula can completely turn off his abilities. So this node really has no danger to it because we're going to be able to remove his power charge pretty early in the fight. The only thing that's interesting is that when I'm over 5 amp charges, I basically turn off the masochism. And the only thing I wasn't clear about, and I was considering testing it in this fight because there wasn't too much danger in the fight, I was considering testing what happens if I parry over the shocks, which should land because of ability accuracy reduction, but then also I wasn't sure if I threw a special 2 if it would double them up or if that counts as a new application of a debuff. So that was something I hadn't tested, and I was about 95% sure that if I did throw the special 2 they would get eaten up because of masochism. So the first part of this fight is getting rid of the power charge. If you block a special 1, then it removes his power charge, and then if you're over 5 amp charges, the cooldown timer will just never come back. Now, I noticed the word recoil, so this person is running Liquid Courage and Double Edge, which is interesting. Normally we don't see that in Tier 1, but maybe this person has a bunch of immune champs. So right there, I figured because he had recoil, I'm winning this fight no matter what, and I wanted to just test the thing that I said. Now, I don't recommend in a season war testing something like that, so you know, I didn't follow my own advice there, but at the same time I really didn't see this fight getting out of control, and I just decided I wanted to make 100% sure if there was a more dangerous robot here or something like that. I wanted to kind of know what my options were in the future, but like I suspected, I mean, like I said, I was 95% sure that was going to happen. When we parried, because we had the ability reduction at that given moment, all the shocks transferred over, but then when we threw the special 2 without any amp charges, none of them converted because that counted as a new application of debuffs. So interesting, doing a little bit of testing here. Nebula is still relatively new in her new buffed form, so these things are good to test, but he's basically just, you know, killing himself with the recoil damage. And this was sort of my plan A. The fight would have been over way faster if I had just gone straight to my special here. But this is a good example of how she turns off masochism, because right now you can see that I have enough amp charges that as I'm making contact with him, all of these shocks are very freely applying. They're not getting purified, so we're turning off masochism. We turned off the power charge. That's why she's just a hard counter to him there, even though it took a little bit longer. Now, I was originally assigned to take the Eye Hulk, but then we figured out a more creative way to get an Odin pre-fight onto Hercules so he could take node 24. So Hercules absolutely smashed that Eye Hulk. I didn't have to worry about landing a heavy attack like I did against the Man Thing. I was happy to not take that fight, to be honest, and Hercules was a great option. Now, this fight is a little bit of a joke. This used to be a very common placement just because he always has the armor, so you always have to worry about chitinous thorns, and for a while some people were confused about how the enhanced bleed aspect of this node works. With 40% enhanced bleed, it means champions like Omega Red or Horseman type characters who have 100% bleed resistance would actually potentially bleed out because of the enhanced bleed. So it was a little bit of a trap in the early days of the reworking of this node. But right now, if you saw, my amp charges shot all the way up to 20, and I don't have the Proxima Synergy or anything. That's because as we're hitting him, we're getting bleed procs from chitinous thorns, and then because of the one that converts those to shocks for robots, our shock immunity was basically supercharging ourselves. And the only thing I had to worry about was the unstoppable armor, which it did proc a couple times right there. So we just had to be a little careful with that and not throw our special 2 into the unstoppable. And we were absolutely fine. So that one went down pretty easily. The last time I took that fight, I had the Nebula Trinity on, so it was over even faster. But you can see, even with no synergies, she completely wrecks that node. Okay, next up, this is the Spider-Man 2099 fight. It's Sorcerer on Buffet and Combat Power Rate Strike Counter and Chitinous Thorns. Now, she does have like a little blue armor icon, but that doesn't count as an armor. So for some reason, I missed the parry at the start of the fight. That was really weird, and then she crit 4 times. So basically, I have to do this fight starting with half health. But one special 2 with a couple of debuffs on her just absolutely wrecked her. That was a ton of damage right there. Now, because of the combat power rate thing, I am sort of counting my combos, but she's also very close to dead already. My plan was just to do a special 2 and then to be dexing to refresh the wither, maybe hit her block a little bit to get some more ruptures, and then use my special 1 as the only special that I use for the rest of the match. But he hard counters her there because Wither is going to stop her power gain. He will never proc Buffet because he is basically immune to buffs in the first place, so there won't be any healing there. So yeah, hard counter for sure. It was pretty fun to get to use him. And then this is the second war of the season that Elsa Bloodstone is going to come in at the end of the war and take 2 mini-bosses on 53 and 55 to finish out the war. And this fight with Terrax, this is maybe like the 4th or 5th time in my war career that I've taken this fight. And it really, I've said this before, but I am going to just reiterate. Her kit is just put together in such a way that she counters every aspect of this node. She's going to be basically taking all the armor breaks and converting them into precision buffs. She has her counter attack, which we're going to start with. Then we do medium, which gets an incinerate. It turns off stunning reflection. Hit a little bit more, some more medium. These hits are just doing a ton of damage. I have the Magneto pre-fight on here, which is just adding attack and a longer stun duration. It's not going to allow us to stun against stunning reflection, so don't think about that too hard. But when we throw our special 1, it puts more incinerates on him. Our counterattack, you have a cooldown on your counterattack, but it is such that like whenever you want it, it's usually ready. So once again, we're purifying these armor breaks, converting them into precisions, and yeah, just doing a ton of damage, not taking that much damage because in general he's not going to be in Rockfield too much because we're doing so much damage per hit. And there, one more special 2 gets him down. So yeah, that was probably even smoother than the last time. I got a little lucky with some of the crits, and I think that the Magneto pre-fight did help a little bit in escalating our damage. And then next up, this is going to be another really good Elsa showcase because I actually don't think that she's the best counter here. She doesn't have any way to deal with his unstoppable, so you really need to be counting your combos and such. You really need to be watching the rock stacks. And because of Hard Knock Life, the one thing that she does have the advantage with is that we're going to try to not parry so that we get those disorients on us. So my game plan going into this is to basically, block and bait some heavies for openings and kind of save my counterattack for like when I really need it. And I am pretty sure that I'm going to have to eat a little bit of brute force just because, it's thing, and at times you have to be patient. But brute force, when you have class advantage, is not that punishing. So now what I like to do as I'm building up to the first 15 is just be pretty passive, hold block, right there, the brute force is already ticking. So, you know, he was being a little passive at the beginning, but then we get it to 15 and he throws his special right away. Now, my goal, because I don't want to trigger protection, I am not going to be throwing any special 2s. I'm only going to be throwing special 1s. Let the incinerates do the work. Let the special 1 do the work, because the special 1 hits pretty hard because of her SIG ability. So you're going to be seeing crits in like the 7k range, but it does not trigger protection. And I'm not 100% sure if this is why. It may just be that the hit is not big enough, but it also might be because her SIG ability just adds numbers to the yellow number. All right, so right there, that was a really good example of just being patient and knowing that brute force wasn't going to kill me. I lost half of my health bar, but if I had panicked and tried to hit him and trigger the unstoppable, I would have for sure died. But, you know, I had a lot more time to deal with that brute force. In fact, when you have class advantage, you can take an entire brute force timer and still have 50% health at the end. So now the fight is a lot more in control. Once again, just look at how hard her crits on mediums and on the special 1 are hitting for. It's really astounding. Like, she has so much damage and none of it is triggering protection. It's going under that 300% attack mark that would trigger protection. So she just has so many ways to do damage against him. The other thing, having that counter attack is really beneficial for hard knock life when you need to get an opening. And yeah, I don't think Elsa is the best champion for every player. But I'm just so comfortable with her that I was really, really grateful that DLL assigned that to me, because I always think Thing versus Elsa, or Thing with Elsa, is one of the most fun fights out there. He's extra large, he's science, he takes a ton of damage, she has her way to get openings, you can really have a good flow with her as well, and she doesn't trigger protection. I just think that's enough that if you're comfortable fighting Thing, you can take him in a lot of places with her. So this war was a very, very good war for the Alliance. We won pretty handily, and as an Alliance, we only died 3 times total, which is tying the best performance I've ever seen since I've joined SSx for us. And also, BG3 got another donut, so that is our 3rd perfect score this season out of 5 wars. Absolutely incredible. Back-to-back donuts in general, too, is something I've never seen. So yeah, as a BG, everything's clicking, everything's going really well. We're in a pretty good position at 3-2 right now. And yeah, war's pretty fun right now. I can't lie. The unstoppable armor has a couple pain points, but overall, I'm enjoying this season a lot more than the high ground seasons. And the BG has just been absolutely smacking it, as has the rest of the Alliance. So thanks for checking out the war video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.